A year ago, I paid $120,000 for 4 hours of one-on-one coaching with Grant Cardone. And in this video, I'm going to break down the major lessons and bullets that I took away from the second call that I had with him. And if you don't know who I am, my name is Alex홀모지. I own acquisition.com. I'm a business investor, and we own 6 portfolio companies that do about $85 million a year, and I have nothing to sell you. Like I said, I want to break down the things that I learned from Grant. So the first of these things is that there was a lot of people who were like, Alex, don't associate with this guy, your brand's so much better than that. And like, oh, this guy's a scammer, I lost all respect for you, blah, 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 right? First off, I make these videos for me, so all good. Second off, I genuinely want to help because I don't think the mindset serves you. If you see someone go from 0 to $1 billion in a decade, there are things they did well. And in that, you can learn of them. Whenever I look at anyone, I think that you can either try and throw stones at them, right? Or you can throw stones at your ego and take out a pencil and a pen and become curious and turn envy into interest, into inquiry. And 10 years later, right now, you're not a billionaire. He did something better than you. And if you're not learning from that, then I think that you're missing a massive opportunity. So the first thing that Grant said that I thought was kind of interesting is I was like, take on haters. He was like, just be louder than them. He's like, at the end of the day, he's like, they're just talking about you. And one of the things that I took away from this is that he said, I'm not trying to be liked. He said, I'm trying to be known. And what's interesting about that, it's so subtle, but it's a very important nuance from a perspective standpoint that if you make your intention to be known, then all of a sudden your ego and your feelings around what people say diminish. He's like, he sees haters, he's like, oh good, they're talking about me, cool. He's been able to continually grow despite anyone who's been trying to stop him. And he said, haters just flow more attention to me. They're talking about me. And then they bring me other people who do like me. The next one was he saw the role of the CEO as promote. The second was promote, and the third was promote. This is my interpretation, was that if you ask 20 billionaires, right, what the secrets are, they will typically tell you what their superpower is. Some of them are like, it's all about who you know. Other people will be like, you gotta know how to raise money. Other people will be like, you gotta know how to sell. You gotta know how to whatever, right? And so I think that it speaks more to what type of entrepreneur you are in terms of the vehicle that you use to become successful. So if you were to ask Elon, his big thing, now Grant would argue that Elon's a master promoter, and I think he is, but he also talks exclusively about product. He's like, the only reason for a business to exist is because they have a superior product. There are different ways to skin the cat of success, and for me, that was kind of my big takeaway. Now, obviously, promotion is very important, but the thing that gets you that type of promotion is the product, not an actual kind of media or marketing campaign. So I thought that that was just a really interesting tidbit I would share with you guys. The next one was when he talked about his transition for me, and part of the reason, you guys, I sought out Grant was because he followed a path that is very unique and eerily similar to the one that I've kind of been on, and I'll explain it to you why I'm saying this. So first, he was a car salesman, and then he taught people how to sell cars, and then he moved up to just teaching sales. And then he moved up from there to talking about marketing, and then from there, he switched to talking all about real estate. And that was kind of his transition over time. And I asked him about what that transition looked like. And so first off, he said, like, the bigger the pool, the better. He said, every time I've leveled up and gone wider, everyone told me that it was a stupid idea and I should stay in my niche, and they wanted to keep me small. And every time I did it, I like 10x'd. And he talked about the 2 biggest ones for him. The first one was rebranding from sales to marketing. He said each of those transitions, he said people aren't gonna remember paragraphs and paragraphs about you. He's like, they're just gonna have some sort of key association with you. Here's this guy, this is his deal, right? So he's like, Grant was sales. He's like, and then I wanted them to think Grant was marketing. So I didn't talk about sales, just marketing, right? He's like, then he was able to make the transition, the jump from marketing to real estate. You need to figure out what you want to be. Is that a lot of us start in the direct response world and then kind of end up in the branding world. And you realize that branding actually has higher ROI, it just takes way longer. And that's the thing, is in the beginning, you need the fast cash, but it kind of makes your brand a little icky. But if you can extend the time horizon, a lot of times branding will ultimately yield you the highest return. There's a reason that Chanel and Louis Vuitton and they're these strong brands that exist, and they don't do direct response. It's just about the brand. The next one that I had was needing a big goal, but he's like, you need a bigger goal, right? And so he's like, why not 100 million a month? And so what ended up happening is actually redesign the entire acquisition.com model to enable us to get there. And it was just incredibly impactful for me. And it's so silly, but he also was explaining that for him, originally it was $1 billion under management. He was like, well, shoot, now it's 50 billion. I want $50 billion billion under management. And so for me, I thought that was just like, it's just constantly kind of pushing and expanding. And he said this thing, he said, the more I do, the more I realize I can do. I'm telling you, I've met a lot of people at the top of the game, and like, they're no different than you and I. Like, they're made of flesh, they're made of bones, like, they're just people, and they just believe they can. Another one was that rich people sell and wealthy people hold forever. What he was saying was that he's like, every single building that I've sold, I regret selling because I would have made more if I just kept it. That's when I kind of had a different understanding of debt and refinancing and things like that I've covered in other videos, that like, you can have liquidity based on the assets you have without actually having a sale event. When we started talking about, kind of building our personal brand, he talked about how he had built his. And the thing is that in the beginning, what you do is you attract people who are like you. And so it's like when you see the 25-year-old agency guru, white guy, and you look at his customers, it's a bunch of 25-year-old white agencies, right? People trust people who look like them more. And so if trust is a component of why people buy or believe that a message is for them, then it would behoove us, if we want to scale our business, to reach as many of those people. So that, like, if you look at, Jenny Craig or whatever, it's like, it's not just one white girl, right? It's like, you've got a black girl and an Asian girl and a Mexican guy and whatever, you know what I mean? Like, you've got different races and ages and demographics represented, because these is very strategically put in place to cover and hit a different demographic. So I thought that was really eye-opening. And in terms of how he sees scaling, that's how he sees hitting wider and wider demographics. Now, the next piece to this, because what's your framework? What's the plan for how you execute on all this stuff? And he just laughed. Dude, he's like, there's no plan. He was like, just 10x, bro. And he said it kind of jokingly, but he meant it. He was like, we just do everything and we just increase the output. He's like, and then he pulled up, my Instagram, and he pulled up his. He's like, look, bro. He's like, you got one post. He's like, I got 6 today. He's like, look at your Twitter. He's like, you got 2. He's like, I got 10. And so he's just taken massive action on every single channel and post. And here's something interesting, because I was like, and I'll share with you what he shared with me, which I thought, again, like I said, with the whole known thing at the very beginning, is a really interesting paradigm shift. His goal is not to be loved. His goal is to be known. The next things I'm going to share with you are really along that line that I thought were pretty good. All right. He's like, so first off, my goal is for people to acknowledge my existence. He's like, we found from our last event that 40% of sales came, of the highest level, he said, came from people who had unsubscribed from my email list. Most people get so upset about people unsubscribing for their email list. He's like, to me, he's like, I see that as they're like, oh, I know who you are. I acknowledge you, you exist, I remember you. And so for him, he's like, dude, he's like, we shoot to unsubscribe. He's like, we want to pound people so that they know who we are. He's like, because we think we're over communicating. He's like, but we're not actually battling against competition. He's like, our only competition is obscurity. I was like, huh, interesting. It's just like, it was just a very interesting dynamic. And he achieves polarity through authenticity, which is like, if you are just 100% you, you're just going to have people who hate you. You should want to be hated by some people. Like, if Hitler existed, you'd hope he hates you, right? That's, you know what I mean? Like that, the goal can't be to be loved by people, because you probably don't love everyone, and the people that you really don't like, would you really want them to like you? And so just by just being who you are and just sharing the values that you have will inherently attract the people who share those values and repel the people who don't. And those people who repel, if done properly, right, will tell other people about how much they hate you, and then more people will know who you are, right? And then they will end up bringing people who will share those values with you. I hope this video was valuable for you.